So after a night at the hotel, so we could catch up on work, we made it to Lake Tahoe. This place is awesome. Can't actually tell how it looks. The only time I've been to this spot before, right down here, is a place called Bonsai Rock. It's only been in the winter, and it was only at night to shoot stars. So I think we're gonna throw up the drone, see if we can get anything cool, and probably spend the night somewhere and shoot stars, probably here as well. So we'll see what we get into. I know you're mad, but you want to tell me what just happened?
So we're on the side of the highway here, and we put both the drones up to get some cool shots. So what's it called again?
Bonsai Rock.
Bonsai Rock. And highway patrol pulled up. Me and Kevin rushed to get the drones back, and for some reason both of our drones decided to wig out on us. We both got cut up. I don't know why our drones tweaked out the way they did, but mine wouldn't land. I had to take the battery out while it was flying. We're gonna go down to the lake, see if we can get some good shots.
Take two, we're down here. Bonsai Rock is that big one with the tree coming out of it. I'll have Brian stand right here and get a through shot of him. We sat in the car for a few hours. Now we're hiking down. It is super dark out. We went through one trail and we were pretty much hiking through trees and not really much of a trail, but we found a better one. So we're gonna go get some shots of the stars. You ready, Brian?
Yeah.
So guys, I'm shooting right now and it is a new moon, so there's no moon in the sky. It's extremely dark out here. We're kind of like clouded by trees as well. Gonna try and get some Milky Way shots. I'm gonna be shooting between 20 and 30 second shutter, depending on how fast the stars are moving. And probably gonna need to use more ISO than I'd like just because of how dark it is. But we'll see what comes out. Brian, you getting any dope shots?
I think so, man. Not bad. A lot of shooting stars out, so.
Lots of dope shooting stars. I'm pretty sure I saw a meteor. And the other day on Facebook we saw there might be a meteor shower tonight. Right now I'm running a bulb exposure. I think it's at like 15 minutes right now. I'm gonna try to get 30, see if I can get some cool star trails. Alright, what's up guys? So for this episode in Lake Tahoe, I'm not entirely stoked on the images I got. Also the time that we arrived there. We got to Lake Tahoe maybe 2 or 3 hours before sunset. I thought we were going to be making it sooner, and I thought we were going to be staying the next day for midday shots. It's really one of those places where you want to be shooting midday, which is pretty rare, but mainly because, especially with the drone, when you're looking down at the water, the sun is just illuminating this water, and it's already a very turquoise color, that it just comes out with really good shots. And we got there, and since it was closer to sunset, you know, the color in the water wasn't as strong. The brightness of the watercolor wasn't as strong. The water was relatively dark actually because the sun was so low in the sky, but the rocks were super blown out. So I wasn't too happy with those. I'll go into that after this first image. But then we ended up staying for the stars, and our plan was to stay there initially for the next day, But after like we just kind of were talking in the car, reevaluating like where we were at, we figured it would be the most time efficient if we left and drove to Yosemite kind of through the night. So we'd be there for sunrise. So that's what we ended up doing. But anyways, I am going to still edit a few shots from here just so you guys can see kind of what comes out of it. Like, they're okay shots. I just think that they could have been better, and mixture of many things. But this first shot was taken probably about 11 p.m. We climbed down to the rocks. This is near Bonsai Rock in Lake Tahoe. And this shot was taken at ISO 2000, 17 millimeter on my wide, f2.8, and it was a 30-second exposure. Normally, if I'm doing stars, I try to do 20 to 25-second exposures, just because if you really zoom in, there's most of the time slight movement. On this one, it's not too bad at 30 seconds, but the stars are always moving, so you have to just be careful of that. This was taken during a new moon, so it was pitch black, complete darkness. I lit this shot up with Brian's LED flashlight, so I really like how this is exposed. I messed up though because Brian's camera is actually in here, so I'm going to have to take that out. And this light is actually from cars because the road is up here. But nonetheless, I'm going to go forward and just start editing this, remove chromatic aberrations and enable profile corrections, drop the highlights, up the shadows, up the whites, and down the blacks, down the contrast. I'm going to bring the blacks up. That's a bit too much. I'm also bringing the general exposure up to about that. Drop the highlights a little bit more. And I'm going to bring in I'm going to bring in a graduated filter. It's just too bright down here. It's not that it's fake. It's just like it looks unnatural because of the LED light. It does help as far as quality of the image goes, but you want to keep your photo balanced in light as best you can. So I think that's pretty good. Maybe even a little bit more. Yeah, that looks much better right there. And bring up the vibrance a little bit. I'm going to drop the magentas just a touch because I want to probably selectively edit those in Photoshop. Up the clarity just a little bit. And then I'm going to bring this into Photoshop. So control-click, edit in Adobe Photoshop. Okay, so now that this is loaded in Photoshop, I'm going to first make a copy of my background layer. Command-J. Command-J. And then I'm going to grab Spot Healing Brush Tool, which the shortcut for that is also just J. I'm going to use the bracket keys to make my brush bigger. It should be relatively easy to get his camera and that light out of this. Not sure if that's his phone light or his camera light. That did a really good job. Just need to fix this up. Boom. There we go. So now that distraction is out of the way. I don't know if this is a plane or what that is because that's pretty low in the sky, but definitely take that out. One thing to note too, I had my long exposure noise reduction off in camera, so sometimes, especially when you're shooting in a new moon, you'll see these red, blue, and green dots. Personally, I don't know what it is. I've read forums, I've asked people, I've talked to them. It's just kind of something that happens when you're really trying to pull light out of something that's just pitch black. So mostly it just happens during a new moon. Anyways, I'm not going to print this photo because of that, obviously. But as far as social media, like, you can post this, no one's going to see it. You can't really zoom in on social media because the quality is just pretty bad. But now that I have my general cleanup, I'm going to make a merge visible. So Command-Option-Shift-E. And then I'm going to take a camera raw filter. I need to darken this up because this is very unnatural. So see how we can do this. I'm not entirely sure how it's going to look. I'm gonna have to keep it pretty dark, and I normally haven't done this because it's weird. I really wanted these trees out of it, but when I tried to turn, I didn't get as much of the Milky Way as I wanted. But I'm gonna put a layer mask on that, invert it with Command-I. I'm gonna grab my brush tool with a white brush, put this on normal mode at 100% opacity, and we'll see how this looks. I gotta undo that. Look at this one too. For these ones up here, I'm going to take a lighter opacity, try like 40. Trying to not go into the sky much, just so it stays on the trees. That looked really weird as I was doing it, actually, but I'm not that mad about how it looks. It definitely helps kind of keep it more even and keep the photo a little bit realer on the look. But it is clear that this is actually dark and this is not. So I'm going to take a light opacity brush and just kind of try to blend this in to the rest. And yeah, I know I'm making the whole thing darker, but at the same time, I'd rather have balanced light. I'd rather have the whole thing dark if the light was balanced, opposed to just not looking right. I think that definitely helped. I might even just give this a quick pass on a light opacity brush, just because. One more merge visible, Command Option Shift E, and I'm going to come back to spot healing brush tool and just get some of this stuff out of here. It's just unnecessary to the photo. Yeah, that helps for sure. I'm going to do this the first time, take out just these top branches. They're also unnecessary to the photo. Yeah, that's better for sure. One more merge visible. Just want to see where I'm at before and after. Looks much cleaner. And now I'm probably just going to do some selective edits for white balance. So make a copy of that layer. Down here, I'm not a big fan of the green in the rocks. Kind of unnatural. So I'm just going to mess with the white balance there. Okay, click OK. And then layer mask and invert. And I didn't like how magenta the water got in that, so I'm going to probably keep what I brush into down here on the rocks, because I do like what it did there. For now, I'm going to put this at 100% opacity. And I'm just going to slowly brush in these rocks. That looks better, but too purple. So I'm going to switch to a black brush, drop the opacity around 50. The rocks just got a little bit too purple, but that looks better. So before, after, much better on color. One more merge visible. And now I'm just going to edit the sky pretty much in camera raw. Sometimes I would do this through dodging and burning, but to keep this tutorial at an okay length, just going to keep it in here. And as I'm editing this, I'm only looking at the sky. See where we're at. Not sure where I'm feeling about this white balance. I'm going to keep it blue, and then I'm going to bring in what is the equivalent of a radial filter in Lightroom. There we go. I'm going to click inside, put my exposure back to normal, and then I'm just going to see what I can pull out with this. Get that a little tighter. All right, come back to the basic tab. We'll bring up the vibrance of the whole sky. And pretty happy with that. I might drop it a little bit. Click OK. Same thing as always for selectively editing. Layer mask, invert. And grab my white brush. Start at 100% opacity. See where we get it to. These trees are, for the most part, black, so should blend relatively easily. Mask merge visible. I'm pretty happy with the end result of this. You can see, let me actually pull up Lightroom. Okay, so let's see the before anything on Lightroom. Then we'll see after Lightroom. Then we'll go to Photoshop, and that's before anything. And this is our final image. I'm actually more stoked on this than I thought I'd be. So that's it for this one. So I have a few drone photos, a bunch of different compositions. Like I said, though, the water was kind of dark and the rocks were very bright. So I'm probably just going to do a very quick Lightroom edit and just kind of sync it across, just so you guys can kind of see. And then if I need to make selective cuts per photo as I copy my settings and paste them, I'll do that just so you guys can kind of see sometimes my workflow. So drop the highlights, and I'm looking at the rocks because I really want them to be dropped. Up the whites, down the blacks, down the contrast. I'm going to put the highlights at 0. I'm going to drop the whites 1, 2 settings and the exposure a few. See, they just can't even get rid of that highlight without, I mean, I could selectively edit in Photoshop, but like I said, I'm not too happy on these, so I'm going to keep these pretty simple. I'm going to bring the blues over a touch, aquas to the right a touch, and then I'm going to saturate each of those just a little bit, and also bring up the luminance of mainly just the aquas, so that's going to be a before and after. I'm going to bring up the luminance of the yellows as well, because that just didn't look right at first. But that also kind of affects the rocks, which I'm not too happy about, but is what it is. Yeah, no, I'm just going to keep that where it was. Anyways, I mean, that's the before and after. We'll see, copy these settings, bring it over, maybe this one. This has some really cool rocks in it. But yeah, I don't know, the light, I'm not digging this light. When you drop the highlights too much on photos, sometimes it just looks really weird and off. Do it to maybe 1 or 2 more. This is a good one, kind of actually pretty zoomed out on the drone. Yeah, just too bright. Anyways, I mean, it still looks pretty good, I think, as a photo in general, just me being OCD and nitpicky. End it with this one, and sadly, I did not have a polarizer on my drone, but it's not too bad, I don't think. I'm going to bring actually a slight vignette on this one. I think that would help. Where are you? Way down here. Okay. I think that just really helps rich in the deep blues on the outside, and then keeps the focus in the center where it should be. Anyways, I think that's it for this episode, guys. We got the 1-star photo. We got a few drone photos that are okay, but not necessarily like portfolio worthy. Anyways, that's it for this episode. So stay tuned for the next one, guys.